You are listening to All Burgundy and Gold, everything with the urban sports scene on Fox Sports Radio 96.9 FM and 1340 AM, Hopewell, Virginia. Wole, Ray, and Mo are your hosts. What's good, fellas?
What's going on, good people? We got some Washington football team news to discuss, man. I'm excited.
Definitely. What's going on, Ray Jeezy?
You already know what it is. Always over here, ready and willing,
My man. My
looking for
man.
the smoke.
hey, hey, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Search All Burgundy and Gold, everything with the urban sports scene. Also tweet us at Urban Sports Scene and hit us up on our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. It's time for the pregame. Here's what we have on tap. We'll talk about the Washington football team hiring new GM Marty Herney. But so let's get right to it. It was reported, and I think believe it's official. Washington has hired their GM. Mo, your thoughts?
I think it's a good pickup for the team. I think there's a lot of continuity there from the regime in Carolina that's now leading the Washington football team. So I think that there's clearly a direction that the team wants to go in, and they went with somebody that they could trust to build a team and sustain a team over a long period of time. Because you look at his history and you look at how Carolina performed while he was there, and the when they reached the pinnacle of getting to the Super Bowl in 2015, majority of the players on that team he had drafted. I think it's a good hire. I think it's a step in the right direction.
What are your thoughts on the hire?
Well, brother, I'm gonna ask you real quick, and you can tell me, and then I'll give you my thoughts. Because for our Washington football team fan, what is the goal for this Washington football team next year, and of course moving forward? What's the goal?
It's to building a foundation. You want to make sure this team competes. Now they won the NFC East, so now you want to build upon that. You want to have success in the postseason. So now it's Coach Rivera, and it's going to be the new GM's job to better this roster and better this team. So to me, it's all about improvement. It's progression. That's what you want to do out of anything that you're running, anything that you're building. You want to be better than you were in year one. So hopefully year two, they didn't win a postseason game. Hopefully they win a postseason or have success in the postseason. But everybody's
Okay.
everybody's goal is to win a championship. That's
All right answers, of course, but I was hoping your goal. I mean, hoping you would say like the goal is to win a division.
yeah.
And the reason why I emphasize winning the division and making deep playoff runs is because I believe that's what this hire allows you to do.
Mhm.
This dude, when he was running the ship as the general manager of Carolina, he game planned to beat Michael Vick. Michael Vick was 6-0 in his first six appearances versus the Carolina Panthers.
Mhm.
At that point, he said no more. This dude, he drafted and he selected personnel. Remember Chris Gamble?
Yeah.
Uh,
Cornerback.
as one of your rivals, but he
Mhm.
was good in man to man. You remember
Yeah.
Ricky Manning Jr. He
Yeah.
could cover the slot. This dude drafted players specifically to help his coach at the time, John Fox, stop a player that was ravaging the division so that his team could win the division and then that could propel his team to a playoff run. So if you want to compete, you want to win the division, or you want to be in a discussion every year, and you want a guy who's going to build a young foundation and build a roster to compete in the division, I believe this is your guy.
Yeah, for the fans who are listening to the show, I mean, he was a Carolina GM from 2002 to 2012 and came back in 2017 to 2020. He was let go when the new regime came in to take over the Carolina Panthers organization. But yeah,
Mhm.
like Ray said, he built this team from like the draft. He drafted Luke Kuechly. He drafted Tommy Davis, who played for this team this season, who retired. And also he drafted Cam Newton. So he's built this team, has done well in the draft with this team having a plan. And, he's worked in San Diego with Bobby Beathard. That's ties with, if you think about it, there's some certain ties with Ron Rivera even then, because Ron Rivera used to coach in San Diego and he coached, and obviously he hired Ron Rivera here in Carolina. So there's a lot of chemistry within him and Rivera. So hopefully, that's a good sign for this team going on in the future. Mo, you had something to say?
Consistent with what Ray had to say, man. This guy, when I talk about sustaining a team, like they say, your first goal should always be to win the division, right? We know that's the first ticket you need to punch.
Definitely.
And when you look at what he did against Mike Vick, in those years, and getting Julius Peppers and getting Will Willis, Manning Jr., Chris Gamble, Tommy Davis. This is like back to back to back. And
Yes,
like we
sir.
know the draft is shaky. You know, you're gonna get a lot of backup players and middle of the pack type players, but he has some studs that played, and they played a long time for that franchise, that continued to be a headache for Mike Vick and whoever came after Mike Vick and the other teams in that division. So when you look at how the Washington football team is assembled, if you bring that same logic to defending your division with the shape that the division has been in the last couple of years and what Washington put on film this year, if he can continue in that and adding players, and we know when you draft them, it's better on the salary cap and you get to spend money elsewhere. I think it is the foundation that the team needs to build a great team.
Yeah, I think this is an opportunity for now. It's a good opportunity because now you have two guys also in the same room. That won't butt heads as much, right? Because Ron is getting his guy. You know what I mean? And this is, for all the people that folks have talked about. Yeah, Washington has interviewed this guy. He's interviewed this guy. This is the guy Ron has always wanted. So now he's going to get a guy a guy that he's familiar with. He has a good rapport with. So I feel like, for unity and chemistry, this is a good hire for the team. I know a lot of fans wanted Kyle Smith, who was AJ Smith's son, who's done a good job in the scouting department and has been the GM, the interim, I guess you call it GM for this team. And he's always done well in the draft, but it's all about what a coach, and in terms of Ron Rivera's position, he's a guy that has so much clout. Who is he comfortable with? And if he's comfortable with Hurney as the GM, then you got to rock with it. And you can't go against it because of the success he had in Carolina. We've just talked about a bunch of players that he brought to that team and that system. And in a division, to me, that's is very tough. And he was able to win division, help get his team to the Super Bowl with Ron Rivera. So you go into the NFC East in a division that's not as tough as those NFC South divisions. Maybe it gives the Washington football team a leg up in terms of front office.
Maybe it does. It does. We'll see. But like you mentioned, chemistry. That's been a theme of our night.
I know, right?
For those who have listened to our other shows. So I think it's a good move. Another step in the right direction. For this franchise that so desperately needs positive PR.
You're listening to All Burgundy and Gold, Errrything with the Urban Sports Team. So what will be his biggest challenge here, Mo?
I think the challenge remains the same, building consistency and building within the scheme in which the team wants to operate. And we know that the biggest question mark right now is the quarterback situation.
Yeah.
And figuring that out. So we have an older Alex Smith who's coming off a major surgery and some injuries this year. You have Kyle Allen, who they're familiar with from Carolina. That was out.
Good point.
He's probably going to be out till about week 8, with the ACL. If you give it a full year time to come back, you got Heineke and what they're going to do with that. We know he's a fan favorite based off of his performance in the playoff game. Right? He's a fan favorite, and deservingly so. Like, the night of when we talked about Heineke that day, like, even though I was right that Tampa would win, like, I did not expect that performance. And like when I went back and NFL Network ran it back in the game, and I was just like, my God, like he put some stuff out there. Like, he put himself out there to at least get a shot.
Definitely.
So got to see how they handle the quarterback situation. I still believe that the biggest need for this team to take it to the next level is an impact middle linebacker or impact backer, and finding somebody in free agency to put on the other side of 17, so that there's some weapons on the offensive side, because I feel like 17 dictates the coverage and 17 does a lot of work. And we need somebody consistent on that side, on the other side of him, for him to really get to the next level, despite the quarterback issues that the team has.
Right.
Obviously, a lot of what you just said makes sense. He now has to make a decision as a general manager as to what area of this team do you address first. In terms of Heineke, I think about the Nas song, you know what I'm saying? All I need is one mic. In his case, all you need is one night How you have one good game and you
Why you
become
keep
a
talking,
fan
bro?
favorite, bro?
We're not talking about that on
I
the show,
know,
dog.
but I'm just saying because, but still, it's relevant because you got to make a decision. Quarterback? Do you take a
It's
quarterback?
too nice though. You're
Receiver?
too nice.
Do
A
you
night and
take?
a half, dog. Night and a half, dog. One night and a half.
All you need is 1 night and a half, baby. That's all you need. That's all you need to get a chick pregnant 1 night. See, you gotta be careful
Oh,
with the
Go
one-nighters,
ahead.
man. Listen,
oh man.
listen.
Oh man.
One night, one mistake,
What
dog. One night, one mistake. Go ahead, dude.
his first decision in terms of draft picks is going to determine how the fan base reacts or feels about him. Now they love Taylor Heineke after one night. You just said it, right? Now, if this man, let's say he goes and gets the best linebacker in the draft with that first round pick, people are gonna be upset. Either you getting a receiver or a quarterback. That's all I've been seeing. And he has a tough decision to make, even though I think it's time to build, as Mo said around Scary Terry, get you a really good receiver in the first round, and then you can get another receiver later on in the draft, a la like I mentioned, on our other show, teams such as the Falcons, where they got Russell Gage, a 6th-rounder.
Yeah.
They have in Dallas a 3rd-rounder, Michael Gallup. These guys they developed in the draft. And
But
of course,
you guys got yours already, Ray. You guys got yours already. You got your late draft guy, which is Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now you just need your top guy. I agree with that. I'm thinking you could get 2 good receivers, but just because you're going to have injuries, so I think you need to have depth at the receiver position. You might have that if you get a 1st-rounder, and maybe you are right. I didn't think about it like that. I'm thinking about Ridley being a 1st-round guy, and then Russell Gage being a late-round guy. You got CeeDee Lamb being a 1st-round guy, and you got Gallup. Now in this situation, I feel like he has to go receiver. So we all agree that receiver is probably the way to go.
Receivers up there. I just know with the quarterback situation, like I stated the night of the Tampa game, with the quarterback situation, if you invest a 1st-round pick in a receiver, right? He has to change the franchise. And I don't think there's one there at 19. I believe that's for the Washington football team.
That pick.
I don't think there's a guy like that at 19. We know that Devontae Smith is that guy. We know that Jamar Chase was that guy the year before. He sat out this year, right? The kid from Purdue. I think if you go
Purdue, Minnesota, there's a couple.
Rashad Bateman, but I don't think those guys are top 20 players, right? Because Rashad Bateman can really play, and he's about to sit out this season until the Big Ten came back. These guys are not top 20 receivers. When you pick a receiver in the top 20, he has to change day and night for you because they're a dependent position. And what they're dependent upon is that quarterback play and that line play. Now, if Marty Hurney wants to come in here and he wants to really help this offense, a way that he can help this offense right now, I believe, is an impact offensive lineman, right? Because I think they reached for the kid from LSU last year, and he was a head case at school, and he was hurt this year.
They liked him a lot, though. They liked him a lot.
They like his athleticism, right?
Can I say something wrong? Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. But, he's a 4th-rounder, I believe. He's a 4th-rounder. You want to get your impact guy that can start today because that's where the value is going to be in the draft this year. Alabama has about 3 of them. We know the Big Ten always has some corn-fed linemen that's ready that can go, right? We know Wisconsin's and them have these type of players. Like, if you really want to help the offense, I think you provide some protection for whoever you're going to put back there. And then I think because there's money to spend in free agency. There's a lot of receivers in free agency. You have your Jujus, you have your Allen Robinsons, you have your Chris Godwins, you have your Kenny Galladay's. Marvin Jones would be a perfect number 2 to Terry. You don't need somebody better than Terry. You just need somebody that can make a play. You see what I'm saying? And because if you get somebody better than Terry, you're going to have to pay a lot of money. And I caution Washington football team fans from seeing good stuff happen with the changes that's happened with the organization and still going about it in the old way that the team used to operate. If you want change, accept the whole change and let it be known. And when you look at the history of Ron Rivera and the Carolina staff, they're not big on paying people. They're not big on breaking the bank for anybody. They let Josh Norman go. They let James Bradbury go. Who was it? They let Steve Smith go when he was when he became older and an issue. They're not up for paying for those type of players. They rather draft it and they rather build real people and coach.
That's my point. I agree with every point you're making. But like, for example, Dallas last year, Dallas had an okay defense, right? But they still took CeeDee Lamb, even though they had a really good receiving core already. And when Dak was healthy, they put up points. This year, Washington couldn't put up points. The defense was pretty good, but they couldn't put up points. I think you need to address that. even if you feel as though these guys may not, the guys you mentioned may not be top 20 talent, but at the same time, you're not wrong either if you go pick up a receiving free agent. So I don't think there's no wrong answer, but you need to address the offense in that first round. I still believe. That's
you just don't want to reach for a player. Like CeeDee Lamb was considered probably the number 1 receiver or number 2 receiver. He fell because Oakland reached. Right?
Yeah, because Oakland reached, exactly.
He fell because Oakland reached. Like, let's just call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
Right? Oakland reached, and teams are going to do that. Now, if you find a player of that caliber at number 19 because somebody did that in front of you, and we know that the wave of these quarterbacks is happening in this draft. They're trying to throw in a 4th quarterback in the top 10.
Sure are. Right? They sure are.
Yeah. So if that happens and you guys can get a quality receiver, I'm not against that. I'm just saying that the CeeDee Lamb situation is not every day. That's not an everyday thing. And really, what did it do for Dallas? It didn't do anything that they already wasn't doing. They were losing. With that, they were losing. They won the Atlanta game because Atlanta lost their mind in the last minute of the game, right? So I don't mean to bring up bad news, you know, but like they won that game. They would have been 0-4 going into that Giants game before he got hurt. And so CeeDee Lamb, receivers don't win championships. Receivers don't win championships. I don't care who you. The only receivers that have won championships are Michael Irvin, Jerry Rice, and give me another elite receiver of all time that's won a champ. Isaac Bruce won one, but they was the greatest show on turf.
Torrey Hall.
But there's
guys.
As
the cornerstone. No, you're.
Yeah. A team wins the Super Bowl. Like that's teams win Super Bowls. So I don't even get into like quarterbacks don't win you Super Bowls. The defense, it goes hand in hand. Like the years that good quarterbacks. There's so many quarterbacks that we talk about that win the bowls, but their defense is the reason why. One of the main reasons why they won bowls.
But the quarterback play has to be consistent.
Yeah, I agree. Same thing with wide receiver play. All has to be consistent. Like all of it has to be good play. You can't win a Super Bowl with your wide receiver dropping passes 24/7. Like you can't win a Super Bowl if like the Eagles don't compete with the Patriots if Terrell Owens is playing horrible, or if or Atlanta doesn't have an opportunity to have that big lead against the Patriots if Julio Jones doesn't play the way he plays.
They're talking about it being like elite. What I'm saying is you don't need elite wide receiver play. You just need
I mean, that's been shown. I'm not going to. That's been shown. The Patriots show you that. Yeah, the Patriots
showed you that. I think a lot of other teams have shown you that. I think Terry is good enough. Terry doesn't get hurt. Terry doesn't get hurt this year. He's a 1,200-yard receiver, about 8 to 9 touchdowns. Right? And then he comes back and he plays hurt. Right? Because he's a warrior, because he's a team captain and all of this good stuff, which is why him and Chase have my ultimate respect on his team. Right? But he's good enough.
Yeah.
And all you need is a number 2 counter to him that can come and play and make a play. Not dropping deep balls like Cam Sims, not dropping 3rd and 5s like Steve Sims. You just need some consistent guys. And when you look at Carolina's history, they never reached that way for a receiver. The highest receiver that they drafted was DJ Moore, right? And I think that might have been Hurney. Yeah, that's Hurney. Hurney's that's the highest receiver he's ever drafted. Him and Dwayne Jarrett a couple of years ago. Dwayne Jarrett, I believe, Brandon LaFell. USC. You know, like they don't go reaching for these guys. So I got to take history into account. I got to take team need and understand that at that 19th pick, you want a guy that's a day one starter that's going to contribute, and a receiver being a dependent position and not knowing the quarterback position. I don't think that's a good play.
But build through the draft. That's what we agree. Build through the draft.
Yeah, build through the draft. Absolutely.
Definitely. I mean, we can all tell right now that he has a lot of tough decisions. Definitely has a lot of tough decisions. Make sure you all subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. Search all Burgundy and Gold, everything. Also tweet us at Urban Sports Scene and hit us up on our Urban Sports Scene Facebook page. We appreciate you all for tuning in. Tune in to the next episode. You've been listening to All Burgundy and Gold, everything with the Urban Sports Scene on Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. Hopewell, Virginia for ages. You dig? Deuces. Thank you, Mo and Ray Jeezy. Hey, Mega, lead us out big, homie.